Hi, it's Helen from Heritage Organic Seeds, and today we're going to kick off our Sow Along for the March subscription box. The first on our list of seeds to sow is going to be our Basil Lettuce Leaf. So this is a really exciting type of basil that we have not sold before. It grows just like a lettuce leaf, and the leaves will grow up to about 12 centimetres long. So it is going to be incredibly versatile to use in lots of different meals this year. So we hope you're going to enjoy growing this as much as we have enjoyed including this in the box. You've seen it in the subscription box first, guys. So let's get sowing. So in your box you will have received your little insert which gives you full information about the variety, and then on the back it has our sowing and growing instructions. So it says that we can sow this from early spring to early summer. We're going to bring some compost indoors to warm up before sowing your basil seeds. So I appreciate that I'm outside now, but the compost has been warmed up, and I know I say this every month at the moment, but you do not want to be sowing your seeds into freezing cold compost because they're just going to rot. They're not going to germinate. It's going to inhibit their growth. So you want to make sure that your compost is at room temperature before you sow any seeds. So you can sow your seeds into module trays or into seed trays. So I'm going to use this little quarter tray, and that is how deep I've filled it. So it's quite full. If you're going to sow into modules, you just want to fill the cells with compost, make a little dimple with your finger into each cell, and then scatter a few seeds into each cell. And then if you're sowing into seed trays like me, we're just going to scatter a few seeds onto the surface. And then for both methods, we're just going to cover the seeds with a very thin layer of soil. So your seeds have come in this little glassine bag, so it does make it a little bit easier for seed sowing, and we're just going to literally scatter a few seeds quite evenly onto the surface of the soil like that. So you don't want to sow the whole packet. You can do multiple trays if you want. You can sow into pots. We can re-sow again, so we can just keep the cycle going over the next few months. So don't sow the whole packet, just have them nicely spaced apart. I mean, you might be able to just see the sort of spacing that we've aimed for there. And then we're just going to cover with a very thin layer of compost. Just try and crumble that up between your fingers if it's a little bit clumpy, and then scatter that just to cover those seeds. So we don't want to do it too thick. This is probably about half a centimetre thick. Just a very thin layer, just so that they're nicely tucked in. And then we're just going to lightly water with a fine spray on your watering can. So we need to keep the basil seeds at about 22 degrees centigrade to germinate, and germination will take about 2 weeks. So it's probably too cold to keep your seeds in the greenhouse for the time being, unless your greenhouse is heated. So I'm going to just bring mine inside and pop them on a nice warm sunny window ledge. You could use a heat mat or just keep them near a nice warm radiator just until they germinate. And then once they germinate, just let them grow on for a little bit and let them develop a set of true leaves. And then once they've developed that set of true leaves and are large enough to handle, we're going to carefully prick them out and transplant them into either individual pots or into large modules. So once we've transplanted our basil plants into little pots or into large modules, we're just going to make sure that the soil doesn't dry out, but we're just going to water them sparingly because basil hates sitting in wet soil. And then when it gets to around June and the risk of frost has completely passed, we're going to transplant our basil plants into their final growing position in the ground. We're going to space the plants about 20 centimetres apart, and they're just going to thrive all summer. We want them to be in a nice sunny but sheltered position, and they're just going to be an absolutely amazing addition to our kitchen gardens this year. As they start to grow, you want to pinch out the growing tips, and that is just going to encourage them to become more bushy plants and just give you more and more leaves to enjoy throughout the season. And then if you do start to notice any flower shoots starting to form, pinch those out as soon as you see them, because you don't want your basil plants to start flowering, because they'll just go to seed and there'll be less basil for you to enjoy. The plant's going to then start putting all its energy into those flower shoots and producing seeds, and we want all of the energy to go into producing those nice delicious leaves that we're going to enjoy all summer. So I hope you've enjoyed this Sow Along video for our basil seeds from our March subscription box. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out and I'll be more than happy to help.